In today's video, I'm sharing some tiny changes that you can make to your food photography to get some mighty results that will instantly get you better food photos. Yeah, these tips are not long-winded, but the difference in your photography will be dramatic. So let's jump straight into them. Okay, my first tip for you is to repurpose your props. So what I mean here is to use props that you already have and to create new props out of them. So here's an example where I've done exactly that. In this image, I wanted a white cake stand, but rather than going out and buying a new cake stand, I repurposed a plain white bowl, I turned it upside down, and then I put a plate on top of it. And voila, just like that, I have a new cake stand without spending a single penny. So the next time you're looking for a new cake stand, mix and match any bowls you have or even mugs, and then just put a plate on top to create a brand new and bespoke cake stand. Okay, the next tip I have for you is a really quick food styling tip. Stacking is a really popular way to food style things like pancakes, waffles, cookies, and even muffins. But instead of doing it like a regular stack, which is completely straight, the next time you're styling a stack, make sure you off-center the food. So here's exactly what I mean. In this stack of muffins, you can see that I haven't stacked them in a straight line, but instead I've off-centered each muffin or each layer. So one to the left, one to the right, one to the left, and so on and so forth. Now, by doing this, you're adding interest to your composition as well as movement in your images. This makes your images much more interesting and helps the viewer focus on your hero food item. Okay, on to another quick tip to improve your food photography. I told you these were really quick, and that is to think about your horizon lines. Now, when you're shooting straight on, it's very common to just have a background with a straight horizon line. Just like this image of burgers over here, where you can see the horizon line is horizontal. Now, if you really want to add interest to your images, consider having your horizon line at an angle. So here's another example of what I mean. This granola image, the angle of the camera in relation to where the background has been placed is such that the horizon line is diagonal instead of horizontal. And again, this just helps to add interest to your composition as well as the direction of the shadows as well as the lighting. So do consider that when styling your next image. Now, on to my next tip, and this has to do with cutlery. Now, oftentimes you find that when shooting cutlery, it can give off really strong reflections, which sometimes works to add like specular highlights, but often it can be a little bit distracting. So what can you do about this? Well, you could spend a few minutes changing up the angle of the camera in relation to the cutlery and the light, or moving around the cutlery to get rid of the reflections. But really the easiest way to fix this is to use some dulling spray to get rid of the reflections. By doing this, you're instantly going to improve your food photos. So here's an image where you can see a bright reflection coming off the cutlery. And then here's the exact same image with some dulling spray. And again, voila, all the distracting reflections are gone. Okay, my next tip has to do with making your images look rustic and natural, which is so fashionable in food photography. But instead of actually biting into your food, and perhaps leaving bite marks when you do that, or even slicing your food so you can see the inside and the texture, what I'm suggesting you do is actually breaking the food roughly with your hands, just like I've done in this muffin image over here. Now, I could have sliced into the muffin, I could have even bitten into the muffin, but I really wanted it to look as natural as possible and to actually have control over the crumbs. And the easiest way to do this is actually to just break it with your hands. So make sure you try that the next time you want to create a more rustic, more lived-in scene. Okay, I have a few more tips to go, but before I do that, if you've enjoyed the tips I've given you so far, then I have a free masterclass coming up all about how you can improve your food photography from average to amazing and actually make money from food photography as well. Imagine instead of just randomly posting to Instagram, you're actually getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars for your food images by brands, magazines, cookbooks, and restaurants. I'm showing you the exact roadmap on how to take those amazing images, but also get paid for them in my new masterclass, which is completely free to attend. So just sign up to the waitlist in the description box below, and you'll be notified as soon as the class opens. Alright, back to some quick tips to make those mighty changes to your food photography images. Now, the one thing that I used to spend ages and ages and ages on whilst on set is making a dreaded napkin actually look natural in my photos. I don't know if it's just me, but every time I put a napkin on set, found that it looked really stiff, it looked forced, it didn't look natural. So after going to napkin school, I found that the best way to make a napkin look as natural as possible is, drumroll, literally throw it on set. I kid you not, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to click out of this video straight away, but please stay with me. Honestly, the best way to make sure your napkins look as natural as possible is to open up your napkin, pick it up from the middle, and then just literally throw it on set. Now, by doing this, you end up with images that look like this and this. Now, this is a tip that you're really just going to have to trust me on and try for yourself, and I'm pretty sure you're going to come back and thank me later. Okay, so the next tip I have for you is again a really simple but mighty one, and this one has to do with your lighting. Now, whenever you're shooting, especially with natural light, make sure you've switched off all overhead lights. Number one, overhead light can actually cause a color cast on your food because the white balance of the overhead lighting is different to the white balance of natural daylight. So you really want to switch it off to keep your white balance as natural as possible. Number two, depending on how strong the overhead lighting is, you can also end up with two sets of shadows, which is never appealing when it comes to food photography. And then number three, overhead lighting can also cause reflections on your crockery and cutlery, and again, those are super distracting. So just make sure you turn off all overhead lights. Now, before I move on, I want to tell you about this video that I made all about lighting. So if you're struggling with that perfect lighting for food photography, then make sure you check this video out. It really has all my best tips when it comes to lighting for food photography. Okay, another tip I have for you that can instantly improve your food photography is to strip your set down to basics and actually just focus on minimalist food photography. Now, oftentimes I find that food photographers really want to jazz up their sets with lots of food, lots of props, garnishing, and this can be really distracting and take away the focus from your food. And I usually find that the main reason why they're doing this is because they feel like something is missing from the image. Usually they're not happy with the lighting, but they don't realize that. And then to compensate for that, they keep adding more props thinking that that will help to elevate the image, when in fact it does the exact opposite. So I highly recommend that as you're working on your food photography and you're working to improve your lighting, your composition, your focus, your styling, actually keep your compositions as minimal as possible. Let the food be the hero and let the styling of the food and the colors of the food stand out and add depth to your images through lighting rather than complicated compositions or extra props that are usually not necessary. Okay, now if you're still with me, then I want you to comment the word bananas down below. This is going to tell me that you've actually watched this video up until now, that you've actually enjoyed it, as well as found the tips valuable. I'm going to be coming back next week with a brand new video all about perfect cold pitch emails. So make sure you're subscribed by clicking the bell button below so that you know exactly when this new video will drop. Now, in case you don't want to wait until next week to learn all about cold pitching, then make sure you check out this video, which is also about cold pitching and the mistakes you're currently making, which is why you're not hearing back from potential clients. In the meantime, have a wonderful week and I'll catch you guys next week.